Well, it's quite simple in my mind. Throughout my medical training, I always knew very early in my career that I would like to become a surgeon. And then I looked around and I've tried various surgical opportunities. And eventually, what really captured my imagination and my desire to learn more was the heart. For me, the heart, all organs are obviously alive and functioning, but what sets the heart apart from, in my mind, every other organ is that it's alive, it's beating, you can touch it, it stops and it starts, and you can fix it. So once in my year 5 as a medical student, I I had the privilege to scrub in a cardiac surgical procedure. I was hooked and I never looked back afterwards. For me, it was always and always will be the heart throughout my career. In a heart transplant, pretty much in any transplant, what is really interesting overall in a transplant procedure that you do not have only the patient which is in front of you, but actually there are 4, 5, even 6 other patients that everything needs to coordinate in order to reach optimal results for everyone. Every donor potentially a suitable donation of heart, lungs, kidneys, liver, pancreas, and so on. So really, when the organ donation and retrieval procedure starts, there is a careful coordination to ensure that there is a minimum of time that the organs will spend outside the human body. In particular for heart transplant, the heart is very sensitive to what we call ischemic time, where there is no blood perfusing the heart. So we try to keep it to a minimum possible, usually less than 4 hours. So really there is a surgery, it's sometimes a very complex surgery, where there is a clock ticking all the time. And we need to shorten this time as much as possible, since blood stops at, so we cut the blood supply at the donor side, and then we carefully package the heart, we transport it as fast as possible, and we implant the heart. And at some point, only when the blood starts reperfusing the heart, we cannot take a deep breath and stop and relax relatively. It's a procedure that sometimes can take a very long time, but is really rewarding when we see our patients hopping around the ward and then discharge and having a painful life afterwards. For me, I'm really hooked on transplantation, and what was a pivotal moment in my career where I had the privilege to be part in a marathon of 5 transplants at Papos a few years ago, in which a team of up to over 100 healthcare delivered 5 transplants within 36 hours. It was a tremendous effort from everyone, but what is important with the transplant is the offer, the very generous offer of an organ is there and then. We cannot postpone it, we cannot cancel it if we do not do all our efforts in order to facilitate that transplant for a suitable recipient. That offer will be gone. So that's why all those who are doing transplantation are so dedicated, and we see this as a vocation well beyond our professional requirements. Many of the procedures, particularly the complex procedures, we don't have real life, very good simulation. It's different. Sometimes surgery, and particularly heart surgery, is compared to aviation. Aviation, they do have a lot of very fancy simulators that will allow very good training. We do not have something that similar in heart surgery and transplantation in particular. In transplantation, besides the fact that it's a very complex operation, there's always a rush because heart is the most vulnerable organ, and we need to rush through the procedure safely in order to restore blood supply. Not always the training opportunities are there, and some of the procedures are really, really rare, like, for example, heart lung transplants, which at present there are less than five per year performed in UK. Uh, the masterclass, the Heart Research UK masterclass, for example, the one in transplantation, they are really unique because it allows a slow paced detail in order the best of the best in UK to have the opportunity to train the new generation to record, and it's a phenomenal education tool, allowing those who are coming up and with less white hair than myself to take over in the upcoming year and to continue to provide fantastic transplant services for UK. The heart surgery in the last decade became safer. We have now better technologies in order to achieve similar results with a smaller incisions. The multidisciplinary teamwork, the whole approach to a problem is multidisciplinary, in which teams are meeting and decide what will be the best way forward for a patient. Regarding transplantation, heart transplantation, there is no doubt that in the last 6 years, the tsunami, the biggest change was heart transplantation from donors after circulatory death. All over the world, and particularly in UK, donation after circulatory death is pretty much 50% of all heart donation. And up to 6 years ago, we were not able to safely retrieve, assess, and transplant these hearts. And by developing technologies and masterclasses, notably the one from Heart Research UK, allow us to learn and to disseminate this information in order for all units in UK to be available to do heart transplantation and increase organ utilization and decrease mortality of recipients on the waiting list. It's crucial. Heart surgery or any surgery cannot progress really. There's a close link between research and pioneering. And for example, one of the crucial problems we have in heart transplantation is primary graft dysfunction, which, despite the best efforts and knowledge of the teams, it still occurs in up to 30% of all heart transplants, and we still need to learn how to avoid and to treat this better. The second major research would be, at the moment, the demand outnumbers the supply of hearts available, in particular in UK. And unfortunately, there is up to 20% mortality of patients awaiting for a life-saving heart transplant in UK. As you know, unfortunately, to date, hearts are a unique organ, and there is no technology at present that allow us to create a custom-made heart similar like limb prosthesis. It's a very much a live energy consuming organ, And where the research, ideally, we would like to see in the upcoming 10 years is to potentially create a platform to build hearts. So then we can almost do it as an elective procedure. And as soon as someone requires a heart transplant, here you go, we have the perfect synthetic organ for yourself. Nowadays, in UK, a potential heart recipient can wait up to 3 years on the waiting list, which is a huge amount of time. So anything that we will be able to achieve in order to shorten this time will be life-saving.